What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Carefree Lewis and welcome back to another match preview, and we've got a big game tomorrow. It is Chelsea versus Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. First big test for Chelsea in the Premier League, and it's also a chance for both teams to gauge how far their players are in terms of understanding each other's respective systems. Arsenal are under very big pressure to win this game. They lost their first game to Manchester City. They can't afford to go their first two games without even gaining a single point, and they're coming to a ground that they haven't won in. They haven't won a game here since 2011, if I remember correctly. And since then, if I remember correctly, I think they've got 5 losses and 1 draw at Stamford Bridge since then. So Arsenal will be looking to exercise some demons tomorrow at Stamford Bridge. But it's not going to be easy for them, and it won't be easy for Chelsea either. Now, both teams, when they played last week, it was pretty obvious that they were both still learning and still understanding each other's systems. Now, Chelsea did beat Huddersfield 3-0, but I'm not going to say it didn't look convincing, but it looked like we were very far from the finished product, and I think the same could be said for Arsenal. Now, we're in a much better position because we won, and I think Arsenal will be coming into this game with a lot of pressure underneath them, but us as well, because Arsenal fans have been going on and on about this undefeated streak they've been on about, even though they've only beaten us twice in that undefeated streak. By the way, while we're on that subject, talking about the Community Shield and undefeated streak is possibly the most Arsenal thing you could ever talk about in your life. But that also shows that we also have something we need to get rid of as well, because the sooner we get rid of this stupid undefeated streak, the better. A win for us would also make a statement to the rest of the league that we're not the same Chelsea from last season. We're not the same Chelsea that will just get battered in games, who just won't turn up, or is only going to win because the opposition just happens to play worse than us. Now, Sarri has instilled a very optimistic feeling around Chelsea. A lot of fans are starting to feel like maybe we could push for that top 4 place. Maybe we could push for maybe even 3rd or something like that. Me personally, I want to take it one game at a time and just slowly see where our position is. I'm not going to talk about where I think we'll finish until probably about November or December, unless we have an awful or a brilliant run of form. But you got to take it a game at a time, and this will be the perfect game to figure out where we are. If we can get 3 points against one of our top 4 rivals, it does leave us in a very good place going forward. Remember, last season we only missed out on top 4 by about 1, 2 or 3 points. These are the type of games that we have to win. These 6-pointers when it comes to a top 4 race. We have to be winning games like this. So we have to go out and we have to make an impact. Now, going on to team news. For us, we're not really missing a lot of players. Only Cesc Fabregas is going to be missing the game, the same knee injury that ruled him out at the Huddersfield game. Arsenal, on the other hand, they're missing a lot of defensive players. They have Kolasinac out. Monreal might be being rushed back in injury in order to avoid Lichtsteiner playing at left back again, like he did after Man City when Maitland-Niles came off injured. And then building on with that, Maitland-Niles also is out for 2 months after that injury against Manchester City. So Arsenal are going into this game with a lot of defensive injuries, and that could play into our advantage. You know how Maurizio Sarri likes to play a very high line. He likes having the majority of our players in the opposition half. If we can push Arsenal, we can if we can force mistakes out of them, which Manchester City were doing. If we can do the same, then the game could really start to turn our way. We just have to take our chances, and we have to keep making them. Going into predicted lineup now, we're going to go for the same 4-3-3 formation. It's going to be Kepa in goal. There's no chance I could see Willy Caballero or Rob Green starting. Kepa's going to start, and I think that's all that I really have to say on it. The back 4, I think, is probably going to look the same. Azpilicueta is going to play on the right. This is another scenario where just like there's not really a much better option, and plus Azpilicueta is one of the best defenders in the league, so he has to start. Rudiger, I think, will start in centre back as well, and I think Rudiger is a player who really seems to turn up in these big games. You look at Liverpool at home last season, Manchester United in the cup final. Rudiger really loves playing in the big games, and he can be such a threat in both halves of the field. He's got a great long ball on him. He's got a very rough tackle on him. He can drive the ball high up the pitch with amazing pace and power. And hopefully, if he has another memorable game and he can start to build some consistency on it, he can put his name up there with the best defenders in the league. Now, partnering Rudiger, I would like to see Christensen start, but I think Luiz will start. And Luiz was good in patches against Huddersfield last week, but he still had his shaky moments. Now, he had the same sort of game against Manchester City, but Manchester City was a much poorer performance from him and from the team in general. So this is a sort of game where Luiz will have to show his best, and hopefully his experience shows and he can have another good game, just like he did around the 16-17 season. Now, you did see he didn't get a lot of game time in the 17-18 season. There was a lot of issues with Antonio Conte. Let's hope this is a case of David Luiz going back to his best. Moving on to left back, and I think Alonso's probably going to start this game, but I would rather see Emerson. I feel like Alonso's great going forward, but he just leaves way too much space behind him, and he hasn't got the pace to get back and cover those positions. That's where Emerson's better than him. Emerson has the pace and he has the speed to get back into those positions, and which means that if we get hit on the counter-attack by Arsenal, we have players that will get back at pace and cover those positions. If Alonso gets caught on the counter-attack, we're in trouble, and that's what worries me. So it's a case of, I think Alonso's going to start, and if he does, I hope he has a great game, but I would rather see Emerson start today. Moving on to the midfield, and the midfield is usually where we are sorted. I think the midfield is the best part of our team so far. I think by a couple months' time, I think all the team will be up there. I think the midfield's the most complete part of our team that we have right now. Kante is another bolt-on to start. He has to start. He's impressing really high up the pitch. Kante just seems like a player who can do anything, and I promise you, if this guy learns how to finish, the league's in trouble. Kante's being played much further forward, with Jorginho playing as the deep line playmaker. Jorginho's another player I want to see starting. He's the glue that holds Sarri's system together, and I think without Fabregas and without Jorginho playing, we would definitely be in trouble in this formation. So Kante and Jorginho have to start. And that was the third midfielder. I'd like to see Kovacic get a run out, but I don't believe Kovacic is match fit. He didn't train a lot with Real Madrid because he was trying to push and move out of the club. So I think it's the case that Kovacic might be an option off the bench, but I feel like Ross Barkley will start. So I think Ross Barkley would go in as the third midfielder. Now moving on to the front three, Pedro is the player who I'd like to see start on the right over Willian. I think he'd be the much more favoured of the two. Pedro can thrive in a possession-based system, exactly like Pep Guardiola's, which he was brought up in. He can press well, he can work well in tight areas. He was preferred on the right against Huddersfield other than Willian, who played on the left. And he's also more direct and can do more with both feet, which makes me think Pedro would be a lot more better for this system, and he's a lot more better suited than Willian would be, which is why I'd rather see Pedro play on the right. In strike, we're going to go with Alvaro Morata, and he had a decent performance against Huddersfield. Still not the type of performances that we want to see from Morata. He still didn't get his name on the score sheet, but that's mainly because of Huddersfield's defending. Now, Huddersfield are really good at keeping Morata quiet. They had 2-3 players on him at all costs, and they didn't let him see the goal. They didn't let him catch that eye for goal, and that's the reason why Morata had a quieter game than usual. But I feel like in terms of his link-up play, in terms of what he did with the ball, I don't think there was a lot wrong that he did. It was just a case of Huddersfield didn't let him do much. Now Arsenal, I feel like, could be a much more open game because they won't be sitting back like Huddersfield would be doing. So hopefully Morata will see a couple more opportunities. I really want to see him get his name on the score sheet because Morata is a confident striker, and if he can get that one goal, hopefully it leads to many more from him as well. And on to the left, this is another player who just simply has to start, Eden Hazard. When he came on against Huddersfield, he looked so dangerous, and the way he attacked players, it was a lot more different to when you saw him through Antonio Conte, because he was now attacking players. Usually when he dribbles and tries to take on players, he dribbles to protect the ball. This time he's now taking them on, and he's trying to create space through just taking players on. And if he can do that against Arsenal, he can tear Bellerin apart. If he replicates his World Cup form for Chelsea, he's going to have a brilliant season. It's going to be the type of season that could hopefully take us back into the top 4. But this is your preview for Chelsea versus Arsenal. Let me know if you agree or disagree with anything that I've said. Don't forget to leave your comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Carefree Lewis G. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Up the Chelsea.